TL, that here the MHC class 1 binding and proteasomal cleavage is performed using artificial neural network. Now this tap transport efficiency that actually calculated by this software is done or is predicted using weight matrix. Now the question comes, you can ask me what is the super type, because I am already telling before that also I have told that it actually predict the super types also. So what is the MHC class 1 or what is the super type, MHC super type? So what is the HLA super type? Let me discuss about this first. So the concept of these super types, that it was firstly introduced by a group of scientists in 1995, and the definition of an HLA supertype is that HLA molecules with similar peptide binding features. HLA molecules with similar kind of peptide binding features that were grouped into one supertype, and this means that if a peptide is able to bind to one allele, just listen to it carefully, that if a peptide it's able to bind one allele within a supertype, it can also bind to all other alleles in this particular supertype. So in practice, what you can say, that actually only a few peptides that are able that are able to bind to one allele in a supertype that can bind to other alleles. So at least to date, many methods have been used to define these HLA1 supertypes, including structural similarities, because structural similarities show that they can bind to same kind of peptides. Next is the shared peptide binding motif. If the peptide binding domain or the motif has sharing the same structure, then also next shared identification of cross reacting peptides. So if there are some peptides which can cross react with different MHC molecules, then also a particular MHC or different particular peptide go and bind to different MHC molecules, right? So based on motif derived from binding data or sequencing of endogenously bound peptides along with simple structural analysis, scientists defined 9 different supertypes, which is HLA A1, A2, A3, A24, B7, B27, B44, B58 and B62, which were reported to cover most of the HLA-A and HLA-B polymorphism. Okay. Subsequently, another group of scientists, they have constructed hidden Markov models, HMM models, hidden Markov models for HLA-1 molecules using a Gibbs sampling procedure, and defined a similarity measure between these sequence motifs. Now by using this similarity to cluster alleles into supertypes, the group further defined 3 new HLA-1 supertypes, HLA-A26, HLA-B8 and HLA-B39. This is the A26 and B39 just newly added to the class. So in addition to the 9 supertypes described previously by the first group, second were done, and it was based on about 100 HLA-1 peptide interaction, the second one. Now in contrast to these HLA-1 molecules, because I have told that HLA-1 is divided into HLA-A and HLA-B. Now in case of HLA-2, you saw that there are 3 different different classes, HLA, DP, DQ and DR. So in contrast to HLA-1 supertype, HLA-2 supertypes has been less intensively studied, and as a result, although a few studies about HLA supertypes have been reported. Now one important reason why this happened is that peptide binding data for HLA-2 molecules is less available than those for HLA1 molecules due to the complexity of HLA2 structure. Though they can allow to bind different sizes of peptides, so there are some structural complexity of these MHC class 2 molecules which actually have effect on the binding pattern of the peptides with these MHC molecules, and this is the result that the binding of the molecules with these HLA class 2, that is the less explored area. Nevertheless, studies have suggested that many DR molecules and many DP molecules that can be grouped into supertypes. Now, in 1998, scientists grouped HLA-DR molecules into 7 different functional supertypes on the basis of their ability to bind and present antigenic peptides to T cells and their association with susceptibility or resistance to disease. In 2002, scientists defined an HLA-DP4 supertype and supported the existence of 3 main binding supertypes among these HLA-DP molecules. In 2005, they applied a combined bioinformatics approach using both protein sequences as well as structural data to 2,225 HLA class 2 molecules to detect similarities in their peptide binding sites for defining this HLA2 supertype. They defined 12 HLA class 2 supertypes, including 5 DRs designated as DR1, 3, 4, DR5 and DR9. 3 DQs are there, like DQ1, 2 and 3, and 4 DPs, DPW1, DPW2, W4 and W6. So these are till date explored supertypes of HLA class 2 molecules depending on their structure as well as their binding patterns with these peptide molecules, right? So now I am sending you a particular okay, first let me show you, then I am sending you the link of a particular software by using which you can go and check for the binding of this MHC and epitopes, right? So just a minute, okay? I'm not able to share my screen. Just a minute. So, am I visible? So this is the software. This is the NetCL software by which you can use for this MHC prediction. Now this, as I have mentioned, this MHC peptide binding is predicted using neural networks which is trained, as it was told in case of NetMHC also. Now the proteasome cleavage event is predicted using the versions of the NetChop neural networks, which is trained on C terminals of known cytotoxic T lymphocyte epitopes, and the tap transport efficiency is predicted by using this weight matrix Okay, now this server, I have already mentioned that server includes predictions of MHC peptide binding for 12 MHC class 1 supertypes, and the output that you will get from this neural network, it predicts the MHC peptide binding in a log transformed value, and which is related to the IC50 values in nanomolar units. Okay, now there are different scores, so let's talk about it first. So this is the submission section. This is the, if you want to use this NetSail server prediction for these amino acid sequences, you will use the amino acid sequences or the protein sequences, and you will get different epitopes. So just let's start. To start, I will take different data sets, different protein sequences from this data set section. So if I take this HIV data set, so I am using this particular sequence to check. Okay, so just check this. Now I guess I don't know whether you know this or not. So this is basically when you are going to paste your single sequence or several sequences here. This is pasted in terms of FASTA format. So first you have to know that whenever you are pasting the sequences, amino acid sequences here, that amino acid sequences should be written in one letter code. If you can see here, I have mentioned G, Q, V, R, say V, K, L, W. These are all the one letter representation of these amino acids, we know. Okay, so that should be depicted in this one letter code. Next, other letters, if it is something other than the amino acid sequence, other letters which do not represent any of the amino acids, then that particular letter will be converted into X and treated as unknown amino acids in case of the software. And now other characters such as white spaces, numbers, that will simply be ignored. Okay, so you have to choose this peptide one, choose the protein sequence and paste it here. So if you can see here, this is written in case of FASTA format. So let me show you that you can see there is a particular pattern of this pattern of writing of this amino acid sequences, or say protein sequences. All the protein sequences are written in a particular pattern, a particular manner. This is known as the FASTA sequence, which when it starts with a greater than sign and then the name of the particular protein is written over here. So this is the name of the particular protein, and from the next line the sequence of the particular protein starts, and it is basically ending here. This is the starting of another protein sequence. After the greater than sign, you can get the name or the description of the particular protein, and from the next line only the sequence, amino acid sequence of the particular protein starts. So this particular pattern of writing the sequences is known as FASTA format. Whenever you will use any kind of software or any kind of online server or else anything you are going to use with specifically the sequences, that may be RNA sequence, DNA sequence, protein sequence. So whenever you are using those sequences, you will see that everywhere written over there that just paste your sequences in FASTA format. So this is the FASTA format by using which you will submit your query sequence to a particular software or server. Okay, so once you have submitted, next you have to choose the super type. So I have already told what is the super type. There are 10 HLA super types available. You can see these are the different super types, B62. So you just choose any of the super type that you want to check. Okay, now the weight on this C terminal cleavage, you see this is the weight on C terminal cleavage. Now the default value is selected, default value is 0.1. it basically gives optimal predictive performance on average. So if you want, you can modify this relative weight on proteasomal cleavage, because it helps to this C-terminal cleavage actually is the software depending using which actually it predicts the C-terminal cleavage, I have told. So this weight matrix, so relative weight on proteasomal cleavage, by entering a different weight value you can enter it. Next point is the weight on tap transport efficiency. So the tap transport efficiency, the normal or the default value is 0.5, and that gives optimal predictive performance on average. Now you can also modify this relative tap transport weight by entering different weight values. And next is the threshold for epitope identification. So threshold for peptide epitope identification, actually peptides with a combined prediction score value which is greater than the peptide with a combined prediction score value greater than the threshold value are marked as a potential epitope. So in a large scale benchmark identifying known cytotoxic T cell epitopes in proteins, the default value is kept at 0.75. Okay, that corresponds to a sensitivity of 0.65 and a specificity of 0.97. So what is the sensitivity and specificity? If we can see, if this is 0.5, which is coming with the 0.65 sensitivity, so this is the sensitivity. If you see, the sensitivity is higher, the scores will be higher, and the specificity of 0.97. So if the specificity as well as the sensitivity is higher, that means the score of the protein binding, MHC peptide binding, is higher. It means the particular protein sequence or the particular peptide sequence is the best which can bind tightly, or is the best peptide which can go and bind to these MHC molecules. So it shows the prediction that this is okay, this particular peptide is that can be high chance that this particular antigen or this particular protein peptide can be used as an epitope. So you can use that particular sequence. So this is the function of this sensitivity as well as the specificity. So the benchmark is highly unbalanced, since only one peptide is identified as cytotoxic T cell T lymphocyte epitope in each protein, and the number of the negatives hence is orders of magnitude larger than the number of positives. Now this is important implication for the interpretation of the specificity values. And now next you can see, this is the sort by score. So select which feature to sort on. Sorting is done in decreasing order. Default means is no sorting, so you can use that depending on the value upon which you want to actually using which you can want to sort the fragments. So once you have checked all these dialog box for your submission of these particular protein sequences, just press the submit button, and there will be a page that will actually go to the or give you the output. So let's check. So this is the output section. Okay, so I have given a particular, if you can remember, that this is the protein sequence and this is the name of the particular protein, and here it has given. Now I have chosen the supertype of B7 and the threshold of peptide binding was 0.75 written over here, right? Now you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay. So you can see there are 16 columns over here as a result, you can see, right? So what they tell us, actually what these different columns tell us about the result, right? So if you see, this is the first column. Here you can get all the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see that whenever you have given the particular protein sequences, so there are 1438 peptides available which can be used as the epitope. They have the high chance to go and bind it. See, this is the number of peptides you can get at the end. So this is the number of peptides 1438. Number of MHC ligands 30 identified. Now the question comes, how these 30 MHC ligands are identified? Well, so let's go back again to the top and talk about what these all 16 columns tells us. So first one is the residue number. Now second is the ID. Obviously you can see the ID. And next is the protein identifier. Protein identifier, this is the name of the particular protein that already you have given. See, okay, this was the name of your protein, and see, this is the protein identifier. It is the name of your protein. Next is the PEP. So this PEP actually shows you what is the PEP. It is shown in the next column. It shows the peptide sequences that after the processing of these particular protein molecules that you have given for the prediction, so you will get different peptide molecules which can be generated after the processing. And I have showed you that at the end you saw that there are 1438 peptides that can be generated by processing this protein molecule. Okay, now next is the AF. So this AF actually tells us about the affinity score. It predicts the MHC binding affinity. The value is
Ma'am,
yes, tell Anusha.
um,
Yes, tell.
ma'am, can you please repeat? Actually, your voice is breaking.
Okay, fine. Which you have missed? Just tell me.
Ma'am, your voice is continuously breaking.
Can you hear me now? Anusha, am I audible now?
Ma'am, you are audible, but we have background noises and your voice is breaking.
Okay. Let me just tell you that whenever you have submitted the sequences, so it's clear too. My voice is clear, right?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Okay.
But still, we have some background noises.
Okay, just wait. Now tell me if it is less, background noise is less here. So what happens in case of whenever you have submitted your protein sequences to this NetCTL server, so you will get this kind of output, right? The output contains 16 different lanes. So the first lane actually will tell you the IDs, the residue numbers. Now next it will tell you the IDs, and under these IDs you will get the third column where you will see the protein ID that you have already submitted as the query sequence, from where you want to find the epitope or the particular protein or the peptide which can go and bind to the MHC class 1 molecules. Now next column tells about the PEP. So what is PEP? It actually tells about the peptide sequences in the next column section. So these peptides can be generated by the processing of the protein molecule that you have already entered as your query sequence, right? So after you can see that at the end I have written over here, the system actually generated, it has shown that there are number of peptides, 1434 peptides that can be generated from the particular sequence that you have given to this software. The software have used that particular sequence and processed those particular sequence and gave you 1438 different peptide sequences. So next is the F. So this AFF basically it shows about the binding efficiency or the predicted MHC binding affinity with this particular peptide, and see these are basically the binding affinity of the peptides generated from these proteins, and they have written respectively. So now what happens that this the value which is given here, given as this value is given as 1 minus log 50k. This is the affinity. Here this log 50k is the log value, logarithmic value of base 50 and 50,000, and affinity is the AFF basically gives the affinity in nanomolar units. So you can see this is the affinity in terms of nanomolar, 0.1462 nanomolar. Next is the reshaping or rescaling of this affinity score. This actually reshape the binding affinity. The predicted binding affinity is normalized by the first percentile score that you have obtained. Now the CLE column, it tells what about the C-terminal cleavage affinity of these particular peptides, because I have told that this software actually tells you about the C-terminal proteasomal. So it tells about the C-terminal cleavage affinity. And next is the TAP. TAP actually tells about the TAP transport efficiency. So this is the value of the TAP transport efficiency, you can see. And next is the COMB for the combined prediction score. So this is the individual prediction score about the peptide binding affinity. Next is the rescaling of this affinity score, then followed by the score which you will get by this C-terminal cleavage affinity, and next is the TAP transport efficiency. Now depending on all these parameters, the system or the software will give you a combined score. So this is the prediction score over here. So if you can remember, I have shown you that in case of there were the scores which were written over there, that actually tells you about the specificity as well as the sensitivity of the molecule. Well, while we were talking about this 0.75 threshold, I told that this 0.75 threshold is kept as the default value because it gives about the specificity which is more than 0.97 and the sensitivity which is more than 0.65. Actually it shows the highly specific ligand which can go and bind to this MHC molecule. So there are 1432 different peptides. Now if you can see, if you just scroll down, you will see that here this particular peptide is showing a E value in its last column. This sign actually identified the MHC ligand. So this can be used as MHC ligand because you see the score is 1.2245 here, right? So this is a pretty nice score. You can see that you can use them for, because if you can check, see, just go to the back. So if you can see, this is the score. So if the score is more than 0.5, it means that the sensitivity is 0.89. Fine, sensitivity is high, but the specificity is not much. This is 0.94, but if you can see where the score is high, the score is 1.25, the specificity is 0.099. So that means the specificity is high enough, right? So if you check this result that you have obtained, it is showing you at a higher value of the higher score. So it means the specificity of that particular molecule with that is going to bind with this MHC molecule is higher. So the values that are showing the higher score, you will get these structures, these E's. So it means these are identified as MHC molecules. So if you just scroll down, you will see that it's written over here, number of MHC ligands 30 identified. So there are 30 such peptides that this software has obtained, or it has calculated depending on the score, that these 30 peptides can act as the ligand of this MHC molecule. Now what will be your work if you want to use them? Just jot down all of these molecules that is showing higher score, these 30 molecules. Just take these 30 molecules and compare the score of the molecules or the predicted ligands, compare the score of this predicted ligand, and from there you will just take out one or two molecule with which using which you can go for your experiment. So if you can see that this 0.8927 and 1.3341, both of these peptides is showing higher scores, or all these two molecules can be considered as the, at least according to the software, these two molecules or these two peptides are considered as the ligand that can bind to these MHC molecules, right? So if you take out these two molecules, it's not possible for you to design 30 ligands and check them one by one, right? So you have to narrow down your candidate also in order to do an experiment successfully. So if you go and check this 30, so from these two you will take this one because it is showing high scores, high combined scores. So that means that it has the higher specificity of binding with these MHC molecules than this one. So if you just take this, if you consider this row, so you will get the peptide sequence here. Just take this peptide, you know already now the sequence of the particular peptide that you can use as the ligand from your protein of interest. So you can use this and just go for any ligand. So if you can say if you want to check whether what a particular position or what a particular, say in case of any viral infection, say the viral infection also causes different kinds of immunity, it actually arouses the immunological molecules inside our body, right? So if you want to check what is the particular epitope that is causing these immunological responses in our body, you can just can take the particular protein of that particular virus. You can take the spike protein, you can take the coat protein, the sequence of the particular protein, and just go and check. Now if you from here you will get a particular peptide sequence by which you will be able to predict, okay, this particular sequence is the most useful that can be used as the ligand for the binding of that particular MHC molecule, and just use this peptide and you can now make this peptide synthesize it synthetically using different instruments. And once you get this particular peptide sequence, just go for the experiment using whether it is literally bind to these MHC molecules or not, you will get that idea. So this is what actually this software tells about all these peptides. And there are one more thing, this is the articles or abstract. So there are different papers, different research journals by which using which they actually in those journals they have published different articles. Okay, so once this particular software is obviously designed by some of the scientists, right? So they have done all the experiments, they have used those algorithms to make the particular experiments, and they have taken those experimental values and taking those algorithms of different programming softwares. They have taken the algorithms and obviously they have checked all the practical problems during those designing these experiments, and then they have actually designed a particular software for the prediction of these MHC molecules, because it depends on different molecules. And I have mentioned that during this stem cell class I told you that I couldn't show you that particular software that we have discussed, which was used to check whether particular protein or the particular cell has the stemness marker or not, it can be used or not, because the particular wave software was updating, so it was not opening. So there are evidences that these softwares are continuously updating themselves. There are scientists who are actually working on it, and they are constantly updating this software. So all of these updates and what is the basis of this, each of the values, and how they make this software, all these things, these you can get from this article abstract. From here you will get the idea of different papers, research journals, there's the background, results, conclusions. So the paper, depending on which this particular software is made, this is you will get in this article abstract. Okay, so this is one of the software that we can use to predict the binding of these MHC molecules with the peptides. We can use the protein sequence of our interest and check which peptide of the particular protein, because there are say 10 kd protein, 50 kd protein, even 200 kilodalton proteins are there. So you can use these large sequences of large protein sequences and keep them, or then submit them into this T cell epitope prediction software, this NetCTL, and it will give you the idea about the ligands that can go and bind to the cytotoxic T cell T lymphocytes, right? So now from here you will be able to find those ligands which can bind to these MHC molecules. Now in my next class I will talk about another this binding software that actually another, say it can tell us that as a database also, by which you can get the idea about these immune epitopes. Okay, so we will talk about that. Before that, it's your homework. I will send you the link of that particular software that I have shown you today. So your job will be to find a particular sequence, say the S protein sequence of a particular bacteria, spike protein sequence of a particular bacteria, and just use those particular sequence